Shalom to the house of Israel. This is Captain Asad of Dade Zion, under Chief Priest Kahan and under Chief Minister Shalamah. And today's class is titled, Who is Cornelius? Peter's Vision Breakdown. We're going to go over who Cornelius is. We're going to go over the true understanding of Peter's vision. And I hope that this is an edifying lesson, an edifying class, because coming into this truth, some doctrines we gotta learn how to debunk them. You know, there's doctrines in Christianity that calls Cornelius a Gentile, a non-Israelite. You know, there's understandings that Peter's vision is talking about us being able to eat unclean foods, when in reality, when you read the text, when you break down the text, it's not what it's talking about. So hopefully this class can bring clarity to these different understandings, these different doctrines, by the word of the Most High, through Hamashiach Yahawashi. Right? So first things we're going to do is open up with Colossians 3 and verse 17. And it says, and whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Adonai Yahawashi, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by him. So everything we do in word or deed, everything we say, everything we do it all in the name of the Adonai Yahawashi. You know, keeping in mind his reputation, what he stood for, what he lived for, what he taught. We represent that through our words and through our actions, right? And we give thanks to the Most High for giving us the understanding on what Yahawashi did, what his true purpose was, and how we're supposed to live our lives as being the children of Israel, right? So we give thanks to the Most High for that understanding. So let's dive right into the class of who Cornelius is, right? Because, you know, in Christianity, they'll read Acts chapter 10 and verse 1 and see the word Italian and say, see, he's an Italian, he's a non-Israelite. But we have to really break down this verse and really get the true understanding of this verse, right? So let's start with Acts chapter 10 and verse 1. And it reads, there was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band. All right, so let's read that again, and let's read it part for part, right? So it says, there was a certain man in Caesarea, right? Caesarea is a town in southern Israel, right? Let's understand that, right? Let's understand that in the time period in the New Testament, the Israelites, or the land of Israel, is under Roman rule, right? The Roman Empire has taken control of the land and the surrounding lands of Israel at this point in time, right? So this is where Cornelius was currently presiding in, right? And it reads, a centurion of the band. Now let's break down that word centurion. What is a centurion? Right? Let's go into the Greek of that word centurion. That word centurion means an officer in the Roman army. So a centurion is just a position in the Roman army, just like us today. You can be of so-called African American descent, so-called Haitian descent, so-called Jamaican descent, and be part of the American army, the American military, or the Navy, right? You can be a part of the military, but that doesn't make your nationality American now. You just hold a position in this country's army. So just like in this sense, Cornelius is an officer in the Roman army. That does not make him a Roman himself, right? We're going to further prove that. All right, so let's go back. It says a centurion of the band. Now, what is a band when it says of the band? All right, let's get that word in the Greek. of the band. It says anything rolled into a circle or ball, anything wound, rolled up, folded together. A military cohort. A military cohort. Let's see what that means. What is that word military? What is a military cohort? Right? A military cohort. A cohort was a standard tactical military unit of a Roman legion. Although the standard size changed with time and situation, it was generally composed of 480 soldiers. So a cohort is, in a basic sense, a group of soldiers. It continues to say a cohort is considered to be the equivalent of a modern military battalion, right? Which is a group of soldiers. So this is what a band is, right? A group of soldiers being led by a centurion, right? See, even says it down here. Originally, a cohort consisted of 6 centuriae, each commanded by a centurion. So this is who Cornelius was. He was a centurion who was the head of a band, of the band, right? Let's actually go back to that. The group of soldiers, the Italian band. Because why? It was a band part of the Roman army. Where is Rome located? In modern day Italy. So this is why it's called the Italian band. And that word band, the last word for band, is italicized. Why is that? Because it's not in the original text. You won't see it in the original Greek text, but it's put there to give understanding to the rest of the text, right? So it's saying Italian band, insinuating that the band itself, not Cornelius, was called the Italian band, right? So there's no nationality in this verse that insinuates that Cornelius is either a Roman or an Italian. All right, so let's keep reading. It says, a devout man, a man that feared the Most High with all his house. All right, so who else were devout men in the scriptures? Because the scriptures are very specific on who devout men are. Excuse me. Right? Let's get some examples of devout men in the scriptures. Right? These are verses and precepts we need to have whenever we're presented with this doctrine that we got to cut up. You know, this is Acts chapter 2 and verse 5. And there was dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men, out of every nation under earth. So right here it's calling devout men Jews. It's calling the Jews devout men. Right? Let's get another example of men in the scriptures being called devout. Israelites rather. Right? This is Acts chapter 22 verse 12. All right, and it says, and one Ananias, a devout man according to the law. According to the law. Right? Because someone who's devout, what does it mean to be devout? Let's look up the definition of devout. It's saying having or showing deep religious feeling or commitment. Now that word religious, is a very touchy word, but we understand what it's saying here. You know, having or showing deep feeling or commitment to who? The Most High, the Most High God, right? And the Most High God, He gave us laws, statutes, and commandments to keep. If we are showing deep feeling or commitment to the Most High, we are keeping His law, right? So this is what it means to be a devout man, someone who keeps the law, right? Cornelius was a devout man, meaning he kept the law. All right, so let's continue. It says, a devout man and one that feared the Most High with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to the Most High always. So he prayed to the Most High always, and he feared the Most High with all his house. What does it mean to fear the Most High? Let's get that. Let's see what it means to fear the Most High. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 15. It says, they that fear the Most High will not disobey his word, and they that love him will keep his ways. Right? So if Cornelius feared the Most High, right, and the fear of the Lord is to not disobey his word, that means Cornelius knew the words of the Most High. He knew the prophets. Not personally, but he knew the words of the prophets, right? He knew the law. He kept the law. He was devout to the Most High. He prayed to the Most High always, right? So that argument that Cornelius didn't know who the Most High was prior to him meeting Peter is now debunked, because he knew the Most High. He prayed to the Most High. He feared the Most High. All right, so let's go back. All right, verse 3, it says, he saw in a vision, evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of the Most High coming into him and saying unto him, Cornelius. When he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Adawan? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms are come up for a memorial before the Most High. And now send men to Joppa and call for one Simon, whose surname is Peter. He lodged with one Simon a tanner, whose house is by the seaside. He shall tell thee what thou oughtest to do. And when the angel which spake unto Cornelius was departed, he called 2 of his household servants and a devout soldier of them that waited on him continually. And when he had declared all these things unto them, he sent them to Joppa. Right. So he got a vision from the Most High. You know, in the vision, he's commanded to call Peter, to bring him to his house, to bring him to him. Right. Now, we got over understanding that based on Acts 10 and 1 and Acts 10 and 2, Cornelius can't emphatically just be called a heathen, right? Based on just the text. Right? We got to understand history. History tells us that in the Old Testament, the Israelites were scattered through different captivities, right? Specifically after the split between the northern and southern, the northern and southern kingdoms of Israel, right? The northern kingdom, after their split, they were taken captives by the Assyrians, and the Assyrians took them out of the land and spread them throughout their empire, right? The Assyrian Empire. And through that dispersion, you have Israelites who stayed in those lands. Even after they were freed from their captivity, from the Assyrian captivity, a lot of Israelites stayed where they was at and didn't go back to Israel, go back to the land of Jerusalem and grow up in the customs, right? So you had Israelites who grew up not in the customs of the law, of the Israelite, customs and what so have you, right? And someone like Cornelius falls into that category of someone who did not grow up in the land, who did not grow up in the customs of the Israelite people, of the laws, of keeping the laws, right? You can read about the split that happened. You can read about the split that happened in First Kings, I believe 12, chapter 12. Um, let's actually get the account of the Assyrian captivity. Right? Let's see how our people was dispersed into these different lands. Right. This is First Kings chapter 17 and verse 1. And it reads, in the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began HOSEA, the son of Elah, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Most High, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and HOSEA became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in HOSEA, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria as he had done year by year. Therefore, the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. And in the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gazan and in the city of the Medes. Right? So Hoshea, who was the king of Israel, the northern kingdom, right? When you see the word Israel, they're referring to the northern kingdom. When you see the word Judah, they're referring to the southern kingdom, right? Right. King Shalmaneser besieged, first bound Hosea into prison and besieged the northern kingdom and took them out of the land and took them into the places of Halah and in Habor. Right, took them out of the land and spread them across the places that they had rule in. Right, the same thing happened to the southern kingdom too. When you read Jeremiah, and let's get that account also. Jeremiah chapter 52, I believe. Chapter 52, verse in verse 27. And it reads, and the king of Babylon smote them and put them to death in Riblah in the land of Hamath. Thus Judah was carried away captive out of the land. Right, so the southern kingdom also under the Babylonian empire was carried out of their land and spread out throughout the four corners of the earth. Right, so this goes to show that Israelites was taken out the land, brought to another land, and they stayed there even after the return to Israel. You have Israelites who didn't grow up right in the customs of of being an Israelite, of keeping the law. Right. So this is the case of Cornelius. Right, and we're going to further understand that too, of why Peter had this vision. Why did the Most High ask Cornelius to come see him? Right. So let's continue. Let's continue with. Let's continue with. Let's continue. Let's continue reading. Let's actually jump into Peter's vision, so we can tie all everything together. right? So this is Acts chapter 10 and verse 9. It says, on the morrow, as they went on their journey and drew nigh to the city, Peter went up upon the housetop to pray about the 6th hour. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they made ready, he fell into a trance and saw heaven open and a certain vessel descending unto him, as there had been a great sheet knit at the four corners and let down to the earth. So Peter fell asleep. Yes, he was hungry. He fell asleep. He fell into a trance. And what did he see? He saw heaven open up, and he saw a great sheet knit, like a blanket, come down to the earth. All right. So verse 12, it says, wherein were all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth and wild beasts and creeping things and fowls of the air. So he's seeing beasts. He's seeing cows. He's seeing horses. He's seeing elephants. He's seeing lizards. He's seeing a different kind of birds, doves, chickens, eagles, right? He's seeing all these things on this sheet, right? Verse 13, it says, and there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat, right? So let's go back. It says, wherein all manner of four-footed beasts of the earth and wild beasts and creeping things and fowls of the air, right? Let's understand what he's looking at. He's hungry now, and he's seeing all these animals. And in verse 13, it says, there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. Now, if he's seeing all kinds of four-footed beasts, he's seeing unclean and clean animals, right? And this is what he explains in the next verse. He says, but Peter said, not so, Lord, for I have never eaten anything that is common or unclean. So that goes to show what he was seeing on the sheet knit was pig, right? He was seeing crabs, he was seeing lobsters, all the things in the law that are deemed unclean. And he heard a voice saying, rise, Peter, kill and eat. So would the Most High tell somebody to sin if it's against his law to eat unclean foods? Why would the Most High literally tell somebody, go break my law? Does the Most High command man to sin? Right? Let's see. Does the Most High command man to sin? Let's see. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 15, and verse 20. And it reads, he hath commanded no man to do wickedly, neither hath he given any man license to sin. So the Most High doesn't command man to do wickedly or license to sin. So we got to understand what is the Most High telling Peter to do here, right? We got to understand that these four-footed beasts of the earth, these wild beasts, these creeping things, these fowls of the air, they're not talking about animals, but people. The Most High uses similitude when he comes to us in visions. He uses something else to describe another thing. Just like in Genesis, when Joseph had the dream of his sheaf of wheat and 11 other sheaves of wheat bowing down to his sheaf of wheat. This is not talking about literal sheaves of wheat bowing down to a sheaf of wheat. This is talking about what happened later in Genesis, where Joseph ended up being second in command of the whole Egypt. And because of the famine in the land, his 11 brothers had to come to him to get food because there was famine in the land. And they ended up having given obeisances to Joseph because he was in that position of power, right? This is what Joseph's dream ultimately meant, right? So when we read this vision, we have to understand, yes, Peter is seeing four-footed beasts and wild beasts and creeping things, but these don't represent animals, they represent people. Let's prove that. Let's prove that the Most High will speak to us in this way. He will speak to us in similitudes. He'll use similarities to get his point across. All right, this is the book of Hosea, chapter 12 and verse 10. And it says, I have also spoken by the prophets, and I have multiplied visions and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets. Right, so Peter was a prophet. He was having a vision, right? And the Most High used similitudes. He used something, something to represent another thing in this vision, right? Right. Let's get a precept on how men can be referred to as beasts. All right. This is Psalm chapter 73, and verse 22. It reads, so foolish was I and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. So the scripture is saying before in your ignorance, you was as a beast. I was as a beast before I came into this truth. Before I started keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments, I was as a beast. I did whatever. Beasts do whatever they want. Beasts eat whatever they want. Right? They have no order. They have no set of laws to govern their actions. Right? So we were as beasts before we came to this truth. Right? Let's get another example. Because it said beasts, it said fowls of the air, it said creeping things. Let's get some more examples. It's Hosea chapter 7 and verse 11. Ephraim, which is a tribe of Israel, also is like a silly dove without heart. This scripture is comparing Ephraim, the tribe of Israel, to a silly dove. Is they're literally calling Ephraim a bird? They're saying that Ephraim is literally a tribe of birds, a tribe of doves? No, it's comparing them to doves, a silly dove. All right. So that's what we have to understand. This is and Peter, he understands that later in the chapter. That's the thing. Christianity will read this and stop right there and say, see, the Most High told him to eat. We can eat anything we want. But Peter at this point didn't even understand, why is he seeing this? Why is he being told to eat unclean foods? So how did you, Mr. and Mrs. Christian, come up with this conclusion? Right? But let's continue to read. It says, and there came a voice to him, rise, Peter, kill and eat. But Peter said, not so, Lord. This man was bold. This man told the Most High God, no. He said, no, for I have never eaten anything that is coming on clean. You got to be real bold to tell the Most High no. But why? Why did he tell the Most High no? It's because he understood the law. He understood that it was breaking the Most High's commandment to eat unclean foods. Right? He knew it was unlawful to do it. Even Hamashiach Yahawashi, he never alluded to being able to eat swine's flesh according to prophecy when we get to the kingdom, right? He alluded that we will kill people who's going to be eating swine's flesh, right? When we let's actually get that, right? according to prophecy, what's going to happen to people who continues to eat swine flesh when Yahawashi returns? This is the book of Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 15, and it reads, "For behold, the Most High, Salakia, for behold, the Adon One will come with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury and his rebuke with flames of fire." It's like by fire and by his sword will the Most High plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Adon One shall be many. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination in the mouse shall be consumed together, said the Most High. Right? So the Most High is going to come with like a flame of fire to those who's eating swine's flesh. Right? So even Hamashiach Yahawashi is not going to deal with people who's eating swine's flesh. And the Most High doesn't command man to sin. So this can't be what the Most High is telling Peter to do. Right? But let's continue. And it reads, verse 15, "And the Most High spake unto him again the second time, What hath the Most High hath cleansed, that call not thou common." Right? What the Most High hath cleansed, that call not thou common. All right, so what does this mean? It means what the Most High has cleansed, don't call that common. Right? The men being represented as animals is later understood by Peter as Israelites who were of the dispersed among the kingdom of Judah and of the northern tribe, who were scattered among the nations. It did not keep the culture, the traditions, and the laws of Israel. Right? So this is who the Most High is talking about. The Most High is saying, don't call those who didn't grow up in the custom unclean or common. This is something that Peter had to learn. Right? Why? Because people in Judea at the time were not dealing with Israelites who didn't grow up in the customs, who were not circumcised. Right? They somewhat subscribed to the Pharisaic oral law of not coming unto uncircumcised or Gentile people. Right? You know, there's verses that show them not really messing with other Israelites who were not keeping the Most High's commandments, who didn't grow up in the laws of the Most High, who were not circumcised. Right? And that's in the scriptures that the Most High told the southern kingdom not to deal with the northern kingdom because they went off. Right? Let's actually get that. Let's get that. All right, it's in Hosea. Chapter 4, verse 15. And it reads, "Though thou, Israel, play the harlot, yet let not Judah offend, and come not ye unto Gilgal, neither go ye up to Bethaven, nor swear the Most High, liveth. For Israel," which is the northern kingdom, "slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Most High will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone." So the Most High is telling Judah to leave the northern tribe alone. Right? right? Because the Most High expressed his anger towards the northern tribe, right? Because they went to they started serving idols, right? Started creating molten calves, bringing sacrifice to Baal, right? Practicing enchantment and divination, right? These are the things that the northern tribe was doing, right? But now the Most High, although he did say that, and although Peter was moving in that same spirit to not deal with them, the Most High does give a chance at repentance, a chance at coming back to him, right? Let's get that Second Chronicles. Right. This is Salakia. Right. The book of Second Chronicles, chapter 15 and verse 1. And it reads, and the spirit of the Most High came upon Azariah, the son of Oded, and he went out to meet Asa and said unto him, hear ye me, Asa, and all Judah and Benjamin. The Most High is with you, while ye be with him. And if ye seek him, he will be found of you. But if ye forsake him, he will forsake you. Now for a long season, Israel hath been without the true power, and without a teaching priest, and without law. But when they in their trouble did return unto the most high power of Israel, he sought him, and he was found of them. So if the northern tribe turns back to the Most High and seek the Most High is going to find them, right? And this is what Peter's mission was supposed to do, was to bring, the gospel of Hamashiach Yahawashi to these Israelites who either knew they were Israelites but wasn't keeping the law, or who didn't know they were Israelites and has to now start keeping the law, right? So let's continue. The book of Acts, chapter 10 and verse 16. And it reads, this was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. Now, while Peter doubted himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, right? Because he didn't understand the vision and what it meant. Behold, the men which was sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house and stood before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, were lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, and the Spirit said unto him, behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise therefore and get thee down and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius and said, behold, I am he whom ye seek. Who is the cause wherefore ye are come? And they said, Cornelius, the centurion, a just man, and one that feared the Most High, and of a good report among all the nations of the Jews, were warned from the Most High by an holy angel to send for thee into his house, and to hear words of thee. Then called he them and lodged them. And on the morrow, Peter went away with them, and certain brethren from Joppa accompanied him. And the morrow after they entered in Caesarea, and Cornelius waited for them, and had called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, stand up, I myself also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, ye know that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But the Most High has shewed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So this is the main verse right here, right? Peter said, "Ye know that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation." Now that would assume, now when we read this, it would be assumed that since it's saying another nation, that means Cornelius is not an Israelite. He's of another nation. But let's see what that means in the Greek, another nation, right? That Greek word for another nation is a compound word. It's two words that make up the one word, right? So the first word, allos, means another, other, right? And the second word means a tribe. In the New Testament, all the persons descending from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch Jacob. That's extremely specific. If Peter is calling Cornelius one of another nation, he knows he's an Israelite. He's talking to an Israelite. He is talking to a descendant of one of the 12 sons of the patriarch. Now, we don't know which son, we don't know which tribe Cornelius is from, but it's clear from the text, from the Greek, that he descends from one of the 12 sons of the patriarch of the tribes of Israel. So Cornelius is in fact an Israelite, right? No questions asked. So when someone asks you who is Cornelius, what are you going to tell them? You're going to tell them he's an Israelite. And you can show them through the words of the Most High. All right. So let's go back. All right. Acts chapter 10 and verse 28. And he said unto them, ye know how that it is an unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company or come unto one of another nation. But the Most High has shewed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So he understood now the vision that the Most High gave him was talking about men, who grew up not by the customs of the law, who didn't grow up in the customs of being circumcised or keeping the commandments, right? They grew up in they grew up in the customs of another nation. The Most High told Peter not to call those people common or unclean, right? This is the true meaning of Peter's vision, right? So hopefully this class was edifying. Hopefully you now understand the true understanding of Peter's vision, and you'll be able to spread that truth, have that in your back pocket, to be able to cut that up, and bring Jacob back to him. Right? That is the ultimate objective. Right? So I'll praise in the Most High. With that I say, shalom.